Shalom, everybody. This is our third installment on the Messianic Prophecies series, and today I want to give you two: Genesis 22:18, the seed of Abraham, and Genesis 49:10, very exciting, the seed of Judah. So let's get started. First, the seed of Abraham. Again, Genesis 22:15 through 18. Then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this thing, and I have not withheld your son, your only son. Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens and as the sand which is on the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of their enemies. In your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice, which is a great passage about obedience to God. Now, found within the context of Abraham's offering of Isaac, which is known in Jewish circles as the Akedah, which means in Hebrew, the binding. This passage continues the concept of the seed to elaborate it further. So we started with the seed of the woman in Genesis 3. Now, here we have the Hebrew word zerah for seed, which is always in a singular, but it can be used in two different ways, as an absolute singular for an individual or person, or a collective singular for a group. We see it used both ways in that same passage. First, as a collective singular. Verse 17, Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens and as the sand which is on the seashore. Then, as an absolute singular, in verse 18, In your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So it's a collective and an absolute in the same passage. Now, this is confirmed in the New Testament. Paul confirms that aspect in Galatians 3:16. Now the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. He does not say and to seeds as referring to many, but rather to one, and to your seed, that is Messiah. So Paul gives us a great explanation there. Furthermore, Peter also confirms it in Acts 3:25. It is you who are the sons of the prophets and of the covenant which God made with your fathers, saying to Abraham, And in your seed all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So going back to the prophecies that we did before, in Genesis 3:15 we learned that the Redeemer or Savior, Messiah, would be from the seed of the woman, meaning that he would be a human being. But that's all we got for sure about the seed, the identity. It was vague. In Genesis 22:18, we are not dealing with the Abrahamic covenant. We now find out that the Messiah will be a descendant of the woman and a descendant of Abraham. The question we have to ask is, are all descendants of Abraham Jewish? Well, actually no, but that's for another time. There are 6 passages dealing with the Abrahamic covenant in Genesis. You can see them on the screen right now. Without going into details and looking at all the provisions included in the Abrahamic covenant, we can say with certainty that it will develop into 3 more important covenants. The land covenant, the land aspect, the Davidic covenant for the seed aspect, and the new covenant for the blessing aspect. I really want to encourage you to look at my other videos about the covenants. I think there's 2 of them, the Bible covenants. The links will be in the description below. Now, just briefly, the Davidic covenant found in 1 Chronicles 17, 10b through 14 will be discussed later as it pertains to the seed aspect. And here's the verse. Moreover, I tell you that the Lord will build a house for you when your days are fulfilled, that you must go to be with your fathers, that I will set up one of your descendants after you, and you will be of your sons, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build for me a house, and I will establish his throne forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son, and I will not take my loving kindness away from him, as I took it from him who was before you. But I will settle him in my house and my kingdom forever, and his throne shall be established forever. This is clearly speaking of the Messiah. So That's the first one. Now let's take a quick look at the prophecy about the seed of Judah. Seed of the woman, seed of Abraham, seed of Judah. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and giving us a thumbs up. It really helps. Now, let's look at the seed of Judah. Found in Genesis 49:10. Let's look at 8 through 12. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down to you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He couches, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who dares rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. And he ties his foal to the vine, and his donkey his colt to the choice vine. He washes his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are dull from wine, and his teeth white from milk. Now in Genesis 49:10, Jacob delivers a series of prophecies about all of his sons right before he takes his last breath in Genesis 49:33. The main idea found in 49:10 is that Judah will not lose his tribal identity or his right to rule until someone named Shiloh appears on the scene. Now, who is Shiloh? Bear with me. In verse 8, we learn about Judah's preeminence. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down to you. In verse 9, we learn about Judah's power. Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, you have gone up. He couches, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who dares rouse him up? So in summary, Genesis 49:8 through 12 tells us that Judah is given supremacy. In biblical context, the word shevet, scepter, refers to tribal identity. It is the same as saying the crown will not depart from Judah. Even though Judah wasn't Jacob's firstborn, he will be chosen over the others as the royal tribe. That is God's prerogative. Additionally, the ruler's staff or judge's staff indicates that Judah will rule with authority. The ruler's staff was used by ancient monarchs to render decisions on various matters. It represents judicial authority. So tribal identity and legislative authority will not depart from Judah until someone comes named Shiloh, to whom they will both be transferred. So who is Shiloh? The use of the proper name Shiloh has led people to think that it simply is another name for the Messiah, maybe. A better translation of the Hebrew would be found in the New International Version translation. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. The same word Shiloh is found in Ezekiel 21:25 through 27. And I quote, "You profane and wicked prince of Israel, whose day has come, whose time of punishment has reached its climax. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Take off the turban, remove the crown. It will not be as it was. The lowly will be exalted, and the exalted will be brought low. A ruin, I will make it a ruin. The crown will not be restored until he to whom it rightfully belongs shall come. To him I will give it." Shiloh means the one to whom it belongs. This passage here in Ezekiel refers to the second coming of the Messiah. Verse 25 is about the Antichrist, and verse 26, the turban refers to the priestly garment, and the crown is the royal crown as seen in Exodus and Leviticus. In Exodus 28:4, these are the garments which they shall make: a breastpiece and an ephod and a robe and a tunic of checkered work, a turban and a sash. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron, your brother, and his sons, that he may minister as priest to me. And in Leviticus 8 verse 9, he also placed a turban on his head, and on the turban at its front he placed the golden plate, the holy crown, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So Ezekiel is telling us that priesthood and kingship will be removed from Israel until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, until the coming of Shiloh. Now, going back to Genesis 49:10 with the word Shiloh, Messiah, who had been identified as a human being in Genesis 3:15 and a descendant of Abraham, as we just saw in Genesis 22:18, is now also identified as being from the tribe of Judah. The Messiah will also be a king, as the scepter, royalty, and the ruler's staff, authority, will belong to him at some point in the future. Now, most scholars from both the Christian and the Jewish camps agree that Genesis 49:10 clearly speaks of King Messiah. The French rabbi Rashi wrote of the passage, he says, until King Messiah will come. The Midrash Rabbah 98 says that it alludes to the royal Messiah. The Midrash Rabbah 99 says to whom kingship belongs. Another point that I do not want you to miss needs to be made is that it's often missed. It's about the timing of the prophecy. If this is a direct reference to the Messiah, and it is, it gives us a huge clue about his arrival on the scene. The Messiah is described now as being from the tribe of Judah. All the records of the tribal identities were kept inside the Jewish temple and subsequently were lost when the temple was destroyed in AD 70. So within just a few generations, tribal identity became impossible to officially identify or maintain. All tribes became impossible to identify, except for the tribe of Levi. The rabbis established laws to preserve the identity of the priestly tribe of Levi, but the tribe of Judah lost its preeminence and identity in AD 70 at the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. So to identify the Messiah, he would have to come to the scene before AD 70 to be identified as being from the tribe of Judah. So now we know that he's going to be a seed of the woman, a human being, from the line of Abraham, and from the tribe of Judah. So this is starting to define who this person is going to be, and we're going to learn a lot more about the identity of the Messiah through more Messianic prophecies. But for the time being, this is all I got for you. Shalom, and be blessed.